you, I kind of did know what it was going to be like, but I was absolutely wrong. I mean, just to be dead honest with you, you'd heard all these stories, you've seen all your buddies get out. They're making these big old grandioso paychecks, and you're doing all these things, and it just seems like this crazy wild lifestyle, and you're getting a retirement and a disability and these big huge paychecks, and I'm going to do defense contracting because that's what everybody else is doing, and I'm doing this right here. Or that was kind of the perception, originally as getting out. Luckily, within USASOC, I had the opportunity to spend my last, I don't know, almost a full year, 8 months, kind of doing the transition services deal, going to Boots to Success and things like that, other programs to kind of as you transition out. But I can tell you, it was nothing. The day I signed and walked out the door of Old Womack, it was nothing the same. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It was totally different. Uh, Probably the expectation of what my life would look like post retirement. I think that's the one thing. You have this one expectation of, and it's probably because you're so programmed from being in the service where you have to be at work at a certain time and you get off at generally a certain time, and you kind of get into that flow of things. When you actually do transition and become a civilian, um, you know, based on depending on what kind of job you get, maybe you do have the time you have to come into an office or not come into an office, and what time you have to be at work and not be at work, and you get to leave every day. But then it's totally different. There isn't the expectation of an 8 to 5. So it was totally just astronomically different. It was all task based versus a timeline based of, I knew I was going in the morning and I knew I was getting off, and I kind of knew what my schedule was going to be. It seems like every day is running with scissors. Oh, Chris, did I lose you? Chris, I think I lost you. You want me to keep going? Okay, that's fine. um so it was just the expectation of getting out, and what I thought just wasn't really reality. It wasn't there. While we all kind of go through the same transition process of getting out, based on what unit you're with or what organization you're with, a lot of times you have that, very similar opportunities of, you can go to these transition services, and some units give more time, and some units give less time to do it, even though it's supposed to be this set program time you can do these things. But every installation is different too, as what opportunities they offer for transitioning service members. I think the biggest thing with all the transition is, if your unit gives you the time to take advantage of that time, sitting back and just hoping, wanting, and wishing that you're going to get that time, and you're going to figure it out, and you'll figure it out when you get closer. Um, that you just don't have that time. 8 months, 12 months will sneak up on you pretty fast. So you really want to just take advantage of every opportunity, even if it's in a class you don't think you're going to be interested in, or a field you don't know anything about at all. If it's offered up to you, take advantage of it, because you never know, something might spur your interest and you're actually able to kind of roll with it, and it's something that's of interest. I really see a lot of it when I'm talking and dealing with veterans that are have disabilities. That's really one of the biggest things is, they have an expectation of what they're going to do post-military life, and then just due to accident, injury, illness, combat injury, whatever it may be, their plans for the future change. And then they're looking for a new, not only lifestyle, they're looking for a new occupation to support whatever, injury, illness, sickness they have. So you never really know. You got to take advantage of all of those, those pieces in there. Chris, still don't have you. All right, Chris, so if you could text me what you want me to in the message chat, what you want me to talk about, no problem at all. Otherwise, I'm just going to go down the list that you gave me and talk about those things, if that's good with you. Okay. So the next thing is, what were your expectations of what you thought transition would be like before you experienced it? The big thing is, I thought, I knew what I wanted to do. That's what I was going to do, and I had my heart set on it. And in reality, did I get a job when I got out of the military working for another company? Absolutely, I did. I had this great job, and then everything changed. Working federal contracts, government contracts, the world changes. The contract is lost by the company. Sickness in the family forces you to move away from where it is, and it kind of changes what you're going to do. Specifically for me, hired right out of the military by a specific company, worked there. Within about the first 30 days, had a death in the family, which drove us to move from living right next to Fort Bragg, north of Fort Bragg, to moving all the way up here to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And then I couldn't work for that company because I couldn't go into their office every day, and there's no way I could drive 4 hours a day back and forth. So I kind of had to relook and reevaluate my priorities, and what I was going to do for a career and living. And I could tell you, after 23 years in the service, you kind of get stuck. And I won't say you get stuck, but you kind of get in the mindset of this is what I know. This is the only thing I know. This is what I know best. This is what I'm going to do. When there's so many other opportunities out there that you could be interested in, or you are interested in, that you got to explore. Don't just stick yourself in the rut that you need to come back as a defense contractor because that's the only thing you've known for so many years. There's so many other opportunities that are out there. And that's what really spurred Seventh Dimension to kind of start up as a company. In 2012, I was given the opportunity to go back to school at Villanova to get my MBA. While I was in school, one of my big things was I didn't want to take a marketing 501 class and talk about somebody else's marketing plan or somebody else's, cost accounting plan. I wanted to kind of start from scratch and do my own thing. So I went to the professors and I said, hey, I'd like to develop a marketing plan for this class as my project instead of doing all this research on someone else's. So Seventh Dimension really started off as a science project of everything. And in the end, after 18 months of a program, I had all these functional parts of the company as a whole. Then it just sat dormant from 2000 and late 2013 till I retired in 15. And then took that job, worked it for almost 60 days, and then got kind of moved up here And then after about 30 days of sitting on my back porch drinking coffee, and the wife said, "Hey, that's enough of that. Go figure out something to do with your life. You're not going to live off your retirement and disability check. Go figure out something." I said, "You know what? Let me go to something that I built and something that, I had a little faith and confidence in." And that's where, I started up Seventh Dimension. I turned the key and started the engine, and we started going. Found some areas that I felt I had a niche in. Some professional development, some speaking, some leadership courses, and that's really Seventh Dimension's first contracts were in that over at MARSOC, running leadership development and classes like that. My last couple of years in the service was dealing with government contracts, managing contracts from that level. So I said, well, maybe I can bid on a couple of these. How hard can they possibly be? Real hard. Now I know. But I had the opportunity and I took it. So we, started bidding on contracts, lost a few, put our head in a hole, dug ourselves out, said, hey, we just got to keep chugging away at these things. Had a good group around me of mentors, other companies, other veterans, things like that. And I just really kind of grew off of them. And they said, hey, some people take a year, 2 years to win their first contract. You want to run right out of the gate, within the first 90 days of starting your company. Now, 5 years later, where we're at, 13 standing government contracts right now. We range from, anywhere from 20 to 30 full-time employees, 10 part-time employees, and probably 50 to 55 independent contractors, vendors that do work directly for us. So we've been very fortunate in the growth that we've had, and it's really kind of sprouted out. I could tell you when we started, we only wanted to do North Carolina because it was the easy button. I could drive to MARSOC, I could drive to Fort Bragg, but then as things started kind of going around, we kind of expanded. So now, we have, Defense Language Institute multimedia contract out in California, Fort Bliss Modernization Command. We're running their IT help desk, Cannon Air Force Base, running their Education Services office, down in San Antonio, warehousing, Marine Corps. We're doing some warehousing work in Virginia. We're still working out at MARSOC, multiple things out at MARSOC. Fort Bragg, two contracts currently at MARSOC, or 2 contracts currently within USASOC at Fort Bragg. Army Central Command in South Carolina, Shaw Air Force Base. I have a contract there, contract down at Fort Benning. So we've grown. We really, kind of push ourselves into 2 core competencies, Chris. One of them being training, and then one of them being support services. The training, it really truly is that. I would say our focus, 80% of the training we do is in the medical field. We had the Joint Special Operations Medical Training Center as a contract for the last 4 years down at Fort Bragg. It was a great experience. Of course, we in the end, we ended up losing it on the recompete, but it was a great experience, great major contract to be on as one of our first ones. We run the austere medical course down at USASOC, which is another great course that doesn't just have Army coming to it. It's got, we have Marines coming to it, Defense DIA coming to it, some Navy. So it's just this great combination of people coming into this course. But medical training is really kind of the forefront of what we're doing. But we also do medical training in other areas. And for other customers, San Diego, looks like we're about ready to start a contract out at San Diego Hospital, running a bunch of medical program stuff out there. So all these, kind of contracts and things continue to move forward. We see the company continuing to grow. I tell everyone, anyone that's interviewing with me, anyone that I'm talking to, all employees, as I'm having associations, everybody wants to know, what's your 5-year, what's your 10-year plan? I tell them the company's 5 and 10-year plan is really my personal 5 and 10-year plan. And I don't say that in a selfish way. I have kids that are in elementary school. And when she graduates high school, at that point, I'm going to retire for the second time. That's just kind of what I'm going to do. The company will live out to as long as I continue to give back to DoD, and I'm capable of doing it. I'll continue to do it. But at some point, just like when it's your time to retire from the service, either because you're physically tired, mentally tired, a combination of the two, family priorities, or whatever it is, you kind of know in the business world too that it's your time. I just want to go ahead and establish my time right now and say, hey, I'm going to run like a crazy person from now until then, and whenever then is, that's what we're going to do. I can't tell you that after starting Seventh Dimension, now we just hit our 5-year mark. There are some very interesting things that I never thought about before. We're into a lot of Army research programs. If it's technology research programs, we just spent 18 months for Army Medical Command doing a complete rewrite of a bunch of medical research that they were asking different parts for us to do. It's not released yet. We've given them the white papers and stuff. So I don't want to jump the gun and make somebody mad that could be on it. But it was another great experience. We just we've come into association with Rochester Institute of Technology, working with that university on building some applications for DoD use. We've just we're in some research for some TBI here, most recently, which is always a hot button within DoD. Human performance is another area, biomarkers, biodata, using that information to help with the human performance factors for the individual soldier, not only in the PT or PE that he does every day, but for in the, how he trains. Are we training to, what a person's limits are and then knowing what they are so we can push them, or are we training until we see we're tired and that may not be that limit, or it may be beyond that limit where we've lost that cognitive ability to learn and develop. So, there's so many other pieces. I can tell you, the research side has really been the fun side of it. The training and, putting butts in seats and things like that. Those are great. Those are great things to do. It's great to give training. It's great to support training. We love those things, but at the same time, it's really interesting to kind of look forward and be innovative on what other things we can do and what we can go forward with. Chris, did you hop back on? Or you want me to go to the next one?
Hear me. Keep on.
Oh, you're back. So, networks.
Good to hear you, but I hear the echo, so keep on going.
No problem. Yeah, that's really about Seventh Dimension. How we got involved in the DoD Skill Bridge program or any of these transition programs is really, if I look across the company right now, I would say we are 99% veteran employed. Don't tell the Department of Labor that. They probably won't like that number. Whatever. But I mean, bottom line is we are, we're 99% veteran. That's one of the things we absolutely look for. We think it's a great stepping stone, even if it's part-time for people or during that transition period for people. We absolutely are for it, and we want it to be that way. We feel that there's some cognitive tissue in between, or some connective tissue in between transitioning out, still working for a defense contractor in some way, shape, or form, back to your life within the military. A lot of people, some people have the problem of they get out, they lose that connectivity. They may have a friend here or there that they talk on Facebook or LinkedIn or text back and forth with that was in the service with them, but they don't have that direct connection back to the service, that camaraderie piece that's in there. And we feel that hiring veterans and having veterans on board is very important because that's that connective tissue in there. But at the same time, if they're supporting DoD and coming back and supporting their brothers and sisters that are still They're still throwing it back and forth downrange. They're still deploying all over the world. That's that connective tissue that they feel like they're continuing to give back, no matter if it's in the smallest amount or the biggest amount of work that they're doing. It's still giving back, and that's so important to them. And that's why we got involved with this program. We are also involved in a couple other programs. We have had 4 interns in 5 years. All 4 have been hired on as full-time employees. Nice. We have 2 of them are actively working on contracts. One of them is a program manager, and one of them has just come on recently, where I think we're in about day 45 with her, Ms. Rocha, and she is actually coming in as an HR coordinator. So we have them in all shapes and sizes. We have a mechanic, we have an IT technician. We have a former medic that has now transitioned to the program management, and now an HR and logistics. Her former role was HR with the logistics background. So, for us, it's a great program to be involved in. We always want to go down the veteran lane. We just, like I said, the camaraderie is there. We kind of all speak the same language. We all kind of see the same thing. And it's always very task driven for completion for the most part. So we feel the SkillBridge program is a great way to go. And we think there's a ton of other roles, especially even for Seventh Dimension, recruiting and business development, and working side by side on a contract, or working with a program manager, learning how to do costs and costing, and you realize a lot of things that you're doing for your civilian life, for your house and management and everything else. A lot of that, kind of transitions over to where you can use it for in a job, and you just don't even realize the connectivity or anything like that. And maybe it's just different formats you're producing and different reports and things like that. But it allows you that point of parallel being in a SkillBridge, DoD SkillBridge program, to be able to transition all the things that you've learned into, a commercial company that may serve back in the, to the Department of Defense or federal government. But then at the same time, DoD SkillBridge programs, we see people all the time transition into commercial ones, and that are working in commercial programs, or for commercial companies that have nothing to do with the Department of Defense or federal government, which is great and fine. That's just a different avenue and a different approach. But we're all for them. Chris.
Yeah, it's really awesome, and I appreciate your patience, by the way, with the sound on this, and to everyone who's listening. As I mentioned to them, you're the person they all want to hear anyways, even though I'm echoing now. If you could you've been talking about SkillBridge, the opportunities and the jobs that you have. Right now, Laree, I think, is working remotely with you for her SkillBridge internship, if I'm correct.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And I can tell you that's one of the things that we have found very unique about veterans versus hiring a 18-year-old or a 22-year-old, even college graduate. Veterans, being very task focused, have the ability, as long as they apply themselves, to work remotely in a lot of jobs. There's so many things these days, and pre-COVID, we were we kind of found, some secret sauce in working remotely, because, I could put someone in a place that they feel comfortable. Take myself, for example, in Winston-Salem, where I'm still able to, to be around family and friends and things like that, and be able to support some of my personal life events that go on. But there's nothing I can't do online almost anymore. Yes, I have some visits to customers and things like that, but everything is online. And COVID has only shown that more and more and more to people of, wow, with 365 and Teams and Zoom and all these others, share, Google programs that are out there. You can do so much online. I mean, look at us right now. I don't even know where you're at, and I'm in North Carolina, and we're seeing each other. it's a great thing. So yes, working remotely is absolute an opportunity. We like it. I can tell you, 2 of the 4 that we hired were remote. And we're looking at that in the future. We think that's a great opportunity, especially, and I'll give a prime example. Miss Rocha was out doing some clearing today. If I told her, hey, you had to move to North Carolina to take this job, then I'm kind of forcing her to somewhere she may not be as comfortable. People working remotely have the ability to work comfortably. They have the ability to still clear their unit, keep the relationships they have, and then not be kind of forced by their command. And we kind of see that too as a good thing. Is the command is like, well, you're still here locally, so if I need to call you, and it's happened. Her sergeant major called her in one day and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. Hey, can you be here at 2:00? She sent me a message and off she went. Kind of a thing. So we think it's still there, and we think that helps ease the command in, okay, we're not going to have control of this person, but they're still local if I need to call them. And they can still come in and see me.
No. So, I wanted to, I'm glad you were able to highlight that. I'm trying not to talk too much because of the sound right now. But I really love the fact that you have these opportunities for DoD Skill Bridge that service members can really obtain from wherever they're at and do high skill, high value jobs across such diversity. So I love that. But that goes for hiring veterans too, not just for Skill Bridge, right?
Absolutely. We love the Skill Bridge program. We're going to remain involved with the Skill Bridge program, but that goes for hiring people for positions as well. We have seen a large transition. Of course, you have the government contracts that require a certain person sitting in a certain seat doing a certain job. Okay, we have those. We also do work on other contracts where every 30 days we must produce X report or X research project, or provide this digital media, social media analytics piece back to the customer. And those are files. I mean, that's literally DVDs or CDs or things produced in-house remotely, wherever they may be, and sent to them. So yeah, it's not just the transition in DoD Skill Bridge people we look at for that. There's other things. We in that 18-month research project we did, I had 30 employees all working remotely around the United States, all with specific tasks. We would just have a database of like 300 articles that were we had people just collecting articles and throwing them into this database. And then one by one, people would select an article, pull it down, and they'd write it, do summaries on it, write reports on it, put it back. That we had people, in all over, every state almost, doing these things. And I think that really comes down to task management, not micromanagement, and moving people forward. So yes, opportunities.
Absolutely love it. So, I really appreciate your flexibility during this and rolling with the program. Hopefully the people who are listening have been able to get the value from you finding about your story, your transition, your entrepreneurship, and what you've done with Seventh Dimension, and then the opportunities that are out there right now, whether that's for DoD Skill Bridge or whether that's for direct hire. And so hopefully that message has gotten out across. And if not, then I'm going to have to bring you back and we're going to do this again. But I really, really appreciate you spending the time. Before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone?
No, I think the biggest thing is take advantage of the time you have. If you get the opportunity to do an internship program, even if it's not totally in the field that you want to do, take that opportunity to do the internship. It'll help you physically, mentally do the transition. And who knows, somebody may see your work ethic within a company and say, you know what, you weren't an intern in this area, but your resume meets something that we need over in this other area, and your work ethic proved that you're going to come to work and do great things. So, hey, guess what? We're going to give you an opportunity as an entry level in XYZ, and you never even expected it. Or other companies that you're going to associate with as that intern may say, hey, you know, when your internship's up, well, you want to come get a job with us? It's that exploring, that, you know, that social expansion that you need to have.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you will come back and join me again and have another conversation in a few weeks here.
Absolutely.
But I really appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate the opportunities you're creating. I appreciate your dedication to the veterans, your brothers and sisters. And I appreciate everyone out there, your patience today. And hopefully we'll see you all again next week when we will be back with a new guest and with good sound. But I look forward to seeing you all then Thursday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I hope you all have a great week.
Thank you.